Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel youtube.com/AaronRift NoDQ. Before we get started, I would like to give a shout out, first of all, to Adrian, who left a very generous super chat during the YouTube premiere of the last NoDQ&A video. However, it was Colin Andrew who sent in the single biggest super chat, making Colin Andrew the Cleaver the reigning and defending No DQ Super Chat champion. For the YouTube premiere of this video, if you're watching it, send in a Super Chat. The single biggest one will make you the No DQ Super Chat champion. Let's go ahead and get started with your questions. This question comes from DJW. So I noticed that main roster talent in AEW also have matches on AEW Dark, squashing the up-and-coming talent. In NXT, when main roster talent appears there, it's much different. Is it comparable, and is this a bad thing for AEW in general? Let's talk about what AEW Dark is. It's AEW's second show, and I think it serves a couple of purposes. For one, it's to give some exposure to people that might not get an opportunity on Dynamite. And I think it's also a showcase for some of the established stars and a way for AEW to continue building up the win-loss records as they want them to be developed. With the storylines and everything, AEW is focused on those win-loss records. That's part of their whole appeal, that they keep track of that and people get title shots based off of their win-loss records and so on and so forth. At least on paper, that's how it's supposed to be. I'm fine with AEW Dark as it is, although to be totally honest with you guys, I stopped watching it. Part of the issue is that it just doesn't feel important enough to watch, and there's so much other wrestling content out there. I would watch Dark if they at least threw us like one big marquee match, big star versus big star. AEW Dark almost feels like the old WWE Superstars or Wrestling Challenge from the 1990s, where it was just stars going out there and squashing enhancement talent. But some of those people on AEW Dark that are up-and-comers, that have no name value, it's an opportunity for them. So I do see it as a positive in that regard because they get that exposure, and you never know. Somebody might take notice and those guys could get signed and could end up on Dynamite and become big stars. I have this question from Caleb Jacobs. Do you think we will eventually see the Broken Hardys and Willow in AEW and the Broken Hardys as AEW Tag Team Champions? I certainly think it's a possibility, but Jeff Hardy going to AEW I think is a little less likely because WWE has always seen more value in Jeff Hardy than Matt for whatever reason. And even with the broken gimmick, WWE was not able to keep Matt around. Matt wanted his creative freedom. He's got money. Jeff, on the other hand, I think he has a chance to be a top guy in WWE more so than Matt Hardy. WWE feels Jeff Hardy is more marketable, and Jeff probably is better off in WWE if he can stay out of trouble. But the door is always open, I'm sure, for Jeff to go to AEW and Young Bucks versus the Hardys. You got a money match right there, doing that in AEW. There are some possibilities, and it could be tempting for Jeff Hardy to go to AEW and have one last run with Matt. So I would not rule it out. I would say anything's possible at this point, but I'm leaning towards Jeff staying with WWE for the time being, and WWE froze his contract because of injuries. He'll be around in WWE for a while, and we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I have this question from Kenny. Who, in your opinion, is the most overrated WWE legend of all time? Depends on what you consider to be overrated. I would probably go with Kevin Nash. He's the safe answer because Kevin Nash was a big star in WWE, but I think a lot of that was due to WWE. And I would say Kevin Nash is overrated in the sense that WCW signed him, they paid him a lot, and yes, the NWO was a big success and Nash was part of it, but I feel like maybe Nash gets too much credit. I think promotions overrated Nash more than the fans. I think there were fans that liked Nash. However, as far as box office numbers go, Kevin Nash was arguably the worst drawing WWE champion of all time. He was champion when business was pretty much at its lowest point in WWE. So they could only go up from there. And another guy, JBL, is on the top of my list. I always felt like he got that main event run in 2004 and the WWE title because WWE needed a top heel. Brock Lesnar abruptly left the company and JBL stepped in, and I think WWE rewarded him for loyalty. JBL was part of the Acolytes and he was loyal to WWE for all those years. Vince liked him, and I think that the WWE title was a reward for JBL. Not because he was the best wrestler or the best promo, but because he was a company guy. So probably JBL, and I did like his commentary at first, but that second run I thought was awful. I thought he got really bad in 2015, 2016. So yeah, JBL being a Hall of Famer, nah. This question comes from Jonathan Aaron. Is AEW protecting too many superstars with non-clean finishes, making the wins of Jon Moxley having less meaning? Also, do you think that Brodie Lee is a top guy in AEW, and if so, how would you book him? Well, first of all, regarding the finishes, I feel like for the most part, AEW has done a really good job with finishes, especially on pay-per-view, because you're paying $50 for the show. You want decisive, satisfying finishes. I think AEW has done well. The match with Brodie Lee really wasn't an ideal match to book in the first place because Brodie Lee just came in and it was rushed. But I think Moxley still came out looking strong, and I know AEW wanted to protect Brodie Lee in defeat, which is understandable. As far as Brodie Lee being a top guy, probably not going to happen. I think AEW's long-term goal should be to make new stars. AEW needs to take the established talent that they have and use those guys to elevate new people and build AEW homegrown stars, and hopefully stars that can transcend AEW and make AEW a mainstream phenomenon. Because right now AEW is still a brand that has a very strong following, but it's essentially a cult following. It's like a slightly bigger version of ECW. Maybe quite a bit bigger than ECW because you got the Khan family. There's a lot of money that AEW has access to, which ECW did not have. So bigger budgeted version of ECW, but AEW's following hasn't really gone past that core audience and grown beyond that. And I think that's the ultimate goal. Brodie Lee is probably not going to be that guy to take AEW to the next level. I have this question from Demon Ninja, the anime fans. And he posted this picture of a championship toy belt from The Undertaker. It's very colorful. It's got flames and fire. And he said, the Undertaker Phenom grapple belt has been on my mind for years. In your opinion, could you have seen a non-toy version worn by The Undertaker? And what are your thoughts on exclusive toy belts that never get turned into the real thing, aka the big fancy ones? Usually how it is, WWE will come up with a championship design, a custom title, and that title will turn into a toy, not the other way around. I'm not sure how it worked out with John Cena's spinner belt, but I believe that was on television first, and then WWE made it a toy. This Undertaker title you showed, I think would have been way too cartoonish for the Undertaker's character. And even Undertaker having a custom belt, I don't know if that would have fit with his character, but I certainly think WWE should do that more often with custom titles. Look at Bray Wyatt. You know, they did the Fiend Championship, which was pretty cool. And I would like to see that with more characters with their own custom titles and have them come out with those. You know, why not? WWE loves to milk every cent out of people, so you might as well do it. And maybe WWE could work more with the toy companies and come up with some interesting ideas. But also at the same time, you don't want to oversaturate the marketplace with all these championships. So on one hand, I would like to see more, but on the other hand, I think if you have every champion come out with their own custom belt, it's going to become a little bit too much. This question comes from Miguel Ortiz. How would you feel if before every match in WWE, the superstars were given a microphone and cut a promo on each other before the match starts? It seems that a lot of matches nowadays aren't for titles and they're meaningless. This would add intrigue to time filler bouts. I would be fine with WWE mixing it up every now and then, having guys come out, cut brief promos. My fear is that it would just get very repetitive, where two guys would come out, they would talk back and forth for a while, and then they would have a match. And that's almost the way it is right now. Looking at SmackDown the other week, you had in-ring promo turned into a match, in-ring promo turned into a match, like 4 times on the show. So I think that you could balance it out a little bit, maybe show some promos before the guys come out, or maybe as the guy's coming out, you have that little picture-in-picture with the mini promo. I like those. You know, change it up, but try to do some different things and not do too much of the same thing. All right, that will wrap things up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thank you all so much for your continued viewership and support. Send me a question. I want your questions. Try to give me some unique questions. You can give me questions from any era that I'm familiar with, which probably goes back to early 80s, WWF. Give me questions about the 90s, 2000s, whatever. Aaron Rift on Twitter. Use the hashtag PAIV. Take care, everybody. Stay positive. Be safe, and I will see you all next time.